honor of Zach this week. And Ty.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Your dreams were your ticket out.
Welcome to the Tim Anderson Podcast. I'm Tim. That's my buddy Rhino. No, not Rhino. He's Gonzo. Ryan out sick this week, so filling in just admirably, and I'm grateful to him. And I haven't seen him in a while on the pod anyway, so it's so great to have him. Our guy, Ty. Ty is pinch hitting tonight. Ty, how are you?
Hey, thanks for calling me up here. Very much looking forward to it, hoping to hide in the background a little bit and not get noticed too much, like a bad right fielder in baseball. So, yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, good having you here. We appreciate it. And, of course, fresh off of going to the meeting with the Godfathers with Don Corleone, a fresh meeting tonight, the coach, the coordinator, Zach Nienaber. Hey, Zach, how you doing?
Good, Tim. It's been a busy week as always, but glad to be back on the pod.
Absolutely. So excited to have you both here with us. Ty, this is actually great because we have not had Ty on the pod since the big move. And you are in your big palatial manor, your new palatial manor. How is it? How have you settled in?
It's been okay. I don't know if you've moved in a while, but that part is not very fun. So we haven't had a chance to really sit down and enjoy it because it's been a bit of a process, but we are in, and we are getting there. So ask me in a couple weeks. How about that?
So can we lock down a fantasy draft date at your house tonight?
Yes, absolutely.
So by the end of the pod, we'll have that in the books, Tim.
Yes, marked down. We'll be there for it. No problems at all. We'll lock it in. We are drafting at Ty's Palatial Manor for next summer. Lock it down. It's going to be great. What a wild fantasy season, by the way. All three of us are in the same league. There's like 2 games that separate first from like 9th place in our league. It has just been the most crazy, not just crazy NFL season, but crazy but crazy fantasy season. It's been wild as can be, and Ty's been on top of it most of the way, but you're starting to fall off a little bit. You're chasing Zach tonight, Zach, or Ryan, or Ty. God, I can't get it right.
Let's just call a spade a spade. None of us are very good this year. It's all anyone's guess.
That's very fair. None of us are very good right now. It has been, it's been a battle. Although I might get over 500 with a win.
I'm just picking up guys off the waiver wire and starting them every week because I am so beat up and bye week and injuries and we're just
Daniel Jones starting. Daniel Jones was my big winner this week. That's been the big pickup of the season. Go figure. But we're making it work. Well,
you guys did. I started Watson this week, so that was nice. I was able to pick him up.
There you go.
You started him this week?
Yeah. Against you.
Oh, Christian Watson. Yeah, you not Deshaun Watson.
Oh. No, yeah, Christian.
Yes.
Christian Watson.
I've had Deshaun on my bench in one of my leagues since the start.
I think he's on my bench in our league. I think we're waiting. We're just laying in the weeds, looking to take the title from you guys. It's going to happen. Anyway, it has been a wild fantasy season, but also a wild just pro season. It was a wild Sunday yesterday. Before we get started with all of the takes from this weekend's action in football, I guess we have to ask. Ty, we usually, when you're on the golf pod, we have to ask you, what's in the glass? What are we drinking tonight?
Well, I'm glad you asked. So I'm working my way, just getting started on this advent calendar, this beer advent calendar. It's all German beer. So today I am drinking a nice Kurpfalzbrau Keller beer. I'm going to show it to the camera here.
Look at that.
That's day 4 of the advent calendar. And then I have a first Carl pill, unfiltered pills to drink after that. So looking forward to it.
Look at that.
You
are counting it.
Your advent calendar starts really early? Because I don't think I've ever seen one that starts before December.
Right. So last year I got the same advent calendar as a gift from somebody, and I tried starting on December 1st and did not get through it all the way. Ended up just piling a bunch of those beers in my fridge, and then it got really cold, and then they all froze and exploded. So I'm not taking any chances this year.
Smart man. Zach doesn't tend to go for a beer in our pod. He usually likes to get to the hard stuff. What are we drinking tonight, Zach?
I just have some bourbon in my new mug.
Ooh, lovely. Look at that.
I saw that at the liquor store, the gift pack with that orange coffee cup looking mug. Cool.
Yeah, it came with, I mean, it was the same price as just buying a bottle, so why not get the bottle and a mug? I'm pretty sure the mug will make its way to the cabin the next time we get there, and probably won't come back. Just judging by Caitlin's reaction to it.
Not a fan, I'm guessing.
Well, we have limited cupboard space, and apparently my one coffee mug does not crack the top 20 coffee mugs that we need. So.
That's fit. So noted. We'll write that down. That's big. We, of course, are recording on the Monday night game. The Niners-Cardinals playing in Mexico City as we speak. We'll keep you updated as the game is progressing along. It looks like they might finally just throw to George Kittle, and they have. Hey, sweet. That's nice. Anyway, so that's cool. They haven't done that in like a month. Yesterday, I thought we kind of saw some, I don't want to say disturbing games, but we saw some stuff that definitely raised eyebrows, Zach. I'll start with you. Obviously, the Vikings-Cowboys game pops up, but there were a lot of like really weird games, weird outcomes, kind of surprising finishes. Anything stick out to you? Besides, obviously, we'll get to that Vikings-Cowboys game, no doubt about it, but what else maybe sits there with you after week 11?
Well, I think you saw some of the top teams challenged, right? Kansas City was on the ropes till late. Philadelphia was on the ropes till late. Both of them came away with wins. I think it's clearly those are the top two teams right now.
Yep.
And everyone else has their warts. We can probably throw some dirt on the Packers season now after that Thursday night game. And you know, the interesting thing I think is going to be this AFC East. It's wild, right? 7-3, 7-3, 6-4, 6-4.
The AFC East one was interesting yesterday. That's the game that really stuck out to me, was the Patriots-Jets game. 3-3 late. Patriots win it on a punt return touchdown, basically at the end of regulation. The Jets offense, Ty, I think you probably saw some, I'm assuming you saw some highlights. The Jets offense averages 2.77 inches per play, and they have more complete. That's more. That's an actual stat. 2.77 inches per play. They have more punts than completions. This is a 6-4 team, Ty, and I don't know if the quarterback's good. Did you at all check anything with that? Your thoughts on Zach Wilson?
Yeah, the Jets are a snooze fest. I don't know that I'd watch him right now if you paid me. Zach Wilson stinks. I know he was asked something about, are you concerned about the fact that you had less completions than your punter had punts, and he flat out said no, he wasn't concerned. I'm not sure the ceiling's real high on Zach Wilson. I'm not sure who to compare him to. He just looks afraid. He looks weak. I certainly wouldn't want him as my quarterback, even with the future outlook for him. So that's really what I took away. I think the New York teams, excluding Buffalo, are not all that good, or New Jersey teams, if you want to call them that. And I'm not sure that New England's all that good either.
Well, let's talk about that game a little bit and the whole Zach Wilson thing, because there seems to be a lot of consternation about him now, right? And his reaction post game, and I guess his reaction post game doesn't disappoint me, or I'm not freaking out about it the way most people seem to be. It seems like everyone's like, well, they asked him, did you let down the defense? And he said no.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm okay with that answer because it's a team game. Right, and it's not any one of us; it's all of us, and that type of thing. Did he play well? No, but I don't know. Like, it just seemed like, was anybody talking about Zach Wilson being the problem last week?
No,
it just seems to have come on right after this one game.
They're looking at his stats, and that he has less touchdown passes than Bailey Zappi, who's played less games. He has less touchdown passes than Heineke. He's got more picks than a lot of the guys in the league. He has Jamarcus Russell's numbers after 20 games as a starter, and I think people are starting to take the long view on him. And they're looking at 55% completion percentage. And those are all very fair things to look at when talking about the quarterback. But you're right. Do I think it's all him? No, I don't. I don't think it's all him. But he certainly didn't do a lot to help the situation yesterday. It wasn't a great performance on his part. Also, probably just not a great offensive performance in general. You're right.
Yeah, I just and let's be honest here. If they don't give up a punt return for a touchdown,
right?
They might win the game still. So I guess I'm not overly. I'm not. I guess I'm not in panic mode like everyone else was, but it sounded like they were not right. Robert Saleh was not committal to whether he'd start or not.
Did not sound like that at all. I don't know if Ty, you heard that, but he basically was like, the offense was dog shit. His words, not mine. And every position's up for evaluation at the end of the week. But they can't at this point change, can they? They can't go to Mike White or Joe Flacco or anything like that, can they? Ty, you wouldn't think that would make sense.
No, I mean, Joe Flacco had some success earlier this season, which probably wasn't in Zach Wilson's best interest. That's never a good thing. But I don't have any problem with him, from a media perspective or the things he's saying. And there's a couple of different case studies from quarterbacks, guys who have taken a little bit longer to come along. But there's been a lot more of these young quarterbacks who have really gotten off to hot starts. There's 4 or 5, 6 in the league right now that we still don't totally know who they are, but they've had a ton of success in their first 1, 2, 3 years. And Zach Wilson's just not in that club. I'm not sure there's really anything to look at, other than his college career and think that there's anything to be excited about going forward. So that's concerning. I'm all in on Robert Saleh. I like the way he's handled things. At first, when he was mentioning the taking receipts thing, I wasn't sure about it, but he backed it up. He knew he was with this team all of camp, and I think he knew that this defense was legitimate and that they had some weapons on offense good enough to win some games, and they did. So I'll give him credit. I'm just not willing to give Zach Wilson any credit. And again, if I'm a part of that fan base, if I'm a part of that coaching staff, I have legitimate concerns about the quarterback position. That's really all I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, I get that. My issue, I think, and their defense is really, really good. Like, I think that's one big takeaway out of yesterday. Like, their defense, I think, is good enough to beat, anybody. Like, they're good enough to beat anybody in a playoff game. If the offense can come along, and we talked about this, Zach, a couple weeks ago, right? The injury to Breece Hall was going to be big time. That was going to be a huge thing, and it turned out it really was. Like, that offense isn't the same without him. They need some weapons in the running game to really help him get where he needs to go. So hopefully they can get that straightened out.
I just think that, they're in a tough division, and I don't think anyone expected them to win that division this year, right? We all thought it was Buffalo's, and now Miami's proven to be really good. They're about where we thought they would be.
6-4, yeah, it's not bad.
They're going to be a little bit. If they're a 500 team, that's a step in the right direction. Now, if they don't know about their quarterback, I get it, but I just does going to Joe Flacco do anything for you?
No, you can't go to Joe Flacco. That's what you're right. You can't do that. It's got to be Mike White, or you got to stay with Zach Wilson. You can't go back to Joe Flacco. That makes no sense.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I guess I would stick with Zach Wilson for another couple weeks. I heard someone raving today, if they had Justin Fields, they'd win the division and be the favorites, to win some playoff games. And I thought that was kind of an overreaction too.
Yeah, Justin Fields has played a lot better the last month, but that's a little bit of a It's not quite the same thing.
The difference is they're running Justin Fields 20 times a game.
That's true.
And it's not sustainable. And guess what? He's hurt, and he might not play this week.
That's true. Ding the shoulder there late in the game. We saw that, and he's starting to make that. You're right. I give the Bears coaching credit. They've figured it out. Like, they have found a way to kind of make themselves competitive. They scored 28 points in their last 3 games and lost all 3 of them. Like, that stinks. Like that, when your offense finally starts rolling and you can't stop anybody, that's a problem because they could very easily be right back in this thing. All they had to do was pull a couple of those out. Instead, now they're dead in the water.
Yeah, you certainly have to give Eberflus a little modicum of credit because people were clamoring for, put Justin Fields in positions where he can be successful. Let's call the plays for him. Let's not act like he's a pocket passing quarterback when he's not. So I'll give him credit for that. It's been better. But as Zach alluded to, it's not sustainable. And until I see the accuracy come around and him be able to make those passes, he can scramble and rush for 60, 80 yards a game. That's going to be extremely helpful. He's going to convert on 3 more third downs a game. That's great for your football team. But until he can drop back in the pocket and pass an accurate ball, I'm just not willing to give him any credit. And on top of all of this, I know they're not really in win mode. They're still not winning these games, and they're not really playing against great teams. So I'm not willing to, to make any proclamations on Justin Fields. But it's certainly, I suppose, if you're a Chicago fan, it's a promising run. But yeah,
you may have to make a proclamation on the Bears later tonight in the Eliminator.
Yeah, you may have to hang in there. We'll make you make a big, bold thing if you get to the Eliminator tonight, Ty. This is a big one for him. Our first guest picker in the Eliminator and for the prediction segment. He's picking for Ryan tonight, so this will go on Ryan's record tonight. So this will be really great when we get to that.
And let me just say, things are trending in the right way for our Eliminator, right? The 49ers win tonight. They're going to be tied with the Seahawks. The Falcons are fading. I think we might have this right so far.
So the Saints, you think, might pull this out in the end, right? Or the Saints could come back and
the 49ers are going to win that division, and then we just need one team to catch the Seahawks
that we haven't already eliminated. Right. So it can't be the Falcons.
Well, the Falcons are fading.
Yeah, that's true. So we need the Saints, though. That's what I'm saying. We're running out of teams.
They're calling for a quarterback change in Atlanta too. So
that's true.
Desmond Ridder is not going to be the answer there this year, right?
No, that's true.
So
it'd be nice to get it right. We've always missed by one. We've almost nailed them every year except one, and we're hoping we get it right this time.
Yep.
If we could have eliminated anybody yesterday, Ty, the 8-1 Minnesota Vikings get pummeled. I mean, pummeled. Can't describe it any more than what we saw. Just an absolute beating at the hands of the Dallas Cowboys. I think nobody can stand here and say they saw that coming. No way. So what happened in your eyes, Ty? What did you see and what concerns you?
How dare you ask me about that? No, I'm just kidding. Fitting that I'm pinch hitting for Ryan here because I'm sure we'd be saying the same things. Extremely disappointing. When you say you didn't see it coming, you're not really, Tim, you're not really a cynical Vikings fan like we all are. I think we all saw it coming.
That's not what Ryan is. Be careful what role you're playing here. Ryan is the eternal optimist. Purple sunshine.
But I'm sure he could admit he's seen this playbook. He's seen this play out before. He's seen this movie before. We've all seen it happen. Nobody expected the Vikings to lose 40-3. I did, however, expect the Vikings to lose that game. The home field advantage isn't a whole lot in the NFL right now, and Kirk really struggles with teams that can get after the quarterback. And I knew, that was what they were going to do and be able to accomplish, especially when Darisaw went out. The Vikings just really didn't have a chance. I'm the first person to criticize Kirk, but I wouldn't say that effort was his fault. You got to protect the quarterback a little better than that, and the slow start certainly didn't help. You really have to be able to run the ball against them, as Green Bay did early on, and that really slowed the pass rush down. The Vikings, I mean, you saw what happened on the first drive of the game, right?
I think that, yes, the Darisaw injury definitely hurt them, but he also got beat twice before he went out, right? He gave up 2 sacks before he left, and I think they had an answer for anything that Minnesota tried to throw at him. They shut Justin Jefferson down. What do you have, 3 catches?
Yeah, it wasn't much. He caught a couple early, and that was about it.
Yeah, and so I think what we saw, though, there was a lot of the things that we were concerned about with the Vikings, it all happened at the same time. Right? We've had concerns about their O-line. We've had concerns about them being sluggish in the middle of the game. And, those things came home to roost this week. And so now, I don't think you just completely cross the Vikings off your list, but now there's going to be a lot of skepticism, right? And the fact of the matter is that they're going to win the division, right? I mean, the Lions are 4 back, so the division is over with, I would say.
Yeah.
But right now, as it lines up like that, the 49ers are coming here for the first round. That game would scare you.
Yeah, for sure. And what it speaks to is, you're right, Ty, there's no real home field advantage, right? I think that's true. And I think what we really saw is the difference between playing outside on grass in cold weather conditions versus indoors, right? Like when they went to Green Bay, they weren't the same team, Zach, right? And again, that's grass, that's cold weather. You get them indoors in a dome on turf, which is what they're built for. And all of a sudden, all that speed came back, and it was like our O-line wasn't ready for that, and it wasn't like they couldn't adjust.
I would say that's some of the advantage right now in home field advantage is weather or turf or what teams are ready for, right? It's not necessarily just the home field of it. It's those elements that can play into that. But if you're in the dome, right? I mean, like Dallas is a dome team, so it was definitely an interesting game. Like I shut it off about halfway through. We all sat down and had family dinner together.
You didn't miss much.
Yeah, because I knew also that I wanted to get back on and watch Sunday Night Football, which another great game. Like we can talk for 2 minutes about. I was surprised. There was a 4th and 1 that the Chargers did not go for. They punted. And in all honesty, like we probably would have been saying, like, you got to punt that ball, right?
Right.
And they did punt it, but it seemed out of character for them. Right? It seemed like something that they would go for. And from that point on, the game changed, and the Chiefs took the lead and then got it back again later. And I think the Chargers are a good team. They're a scary team to play in the playoffs. They're a better than 5-5 team with all the injuries they've had, but they're just definitely not on that top level yet.
Yeah, I'm not convinced with the coach either, Ty. I don't know about you, but I'm not a big Brandon Staley guy. I'm not a big Chargers guy. They did have that game. Herbert played well last night. I'll give him credit for that. He got to be fair. He played really well. But yeah, Mahomes is on a different level when he's doing stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's well on record that you're not much of a Staley fan. So what you tend to find, and his name is escaping me, but the Bears coach from the last few years,
Nagy.
When the echoes and the rumors start to leak onto the field, and you start reading the articles as the coach and realizing, okay, I'm getting criticized for this and that. And in Staley's case, it's probably being much too aggressive in down and distance situations. That's when it's kind of coming to the end, when the coach is like, I'll pretty much try anything. I'm desperate to save my job. And Staley might be in a position like that. I saw a lot of that with Nagy, where he was himself. I mean, I know he had written on his play card, "Be you," and then all of a sudden he just caved to what everyone else wanted him to do. He was desperate to keep his job. Everyone, including himself, knew that, he was on the hot seat. Staley may be in that situation. I'm not super plugged into Los Angeles Chargers football, but I would guess that
fans. Don't worry about it. Their fans aren't either.
Right. I'm as much a fan as anyone.
Yeah.
I would venture to guess that there are rumors that he's on the hot seat. If I had to, he has a young quarterback who's performed really well. Again, hadn't performed as well this year. I think there certainly are some questions about that, but I think that there's probably some people out there thinking, a coaching change with this quarterback really hitting his his best years, that's probably something in the future for Staley, unfortunately for him.
Well, the Sean Payton.
Unfortunately for you.
Yeah,
go ahead,
Sean Payton, right? That's going to be the one that everyone's calling for.
Correct.
Right? If we had Sean Payton, we wouldn't be 5-5, we'd be 7-2. Right? I think part of it too is when you look at their team, it hasn't been the easiest of schedules. They've been beat up. And the AFC is light years ahead of the NFC right now. I don't think it's close.
No, I think you're right. 100%.
Right? If you went down the list and took like the 1 seed from each conference, right? You'd probably have to go 6 or 7 rounds before you got to one that you'd take the NFC team over the AFC team.
Right.
Right? Because you go Chiefs, Eagles.
Yep.
Right? That's an easy one. Then you're on, like I looked at it earlier, like it just, right? Would you take the Vikings?
Those 49ers.
Right, you'd probably get down to the 49ers versus the Patriots or something like that would be the time where you'd have a chance.
I think you're right. I really do. Yeah, I think you're 100% right. And so I think they're looking at that situation and going, like, we might be able to do better here. But what they did last night, I really thought the Chargers had a chance to really shake up this playoff picture. And instead, they kind of but the Chiefs coming away ahead there, it's like now the Chiefs look like they're locked in to be the number 1 seed. They're going to be everything's going to go through Arrowhead in the playoffs again. Like it's setting up again, just like normal. If you're gonna go to the Super Bowl, you got to go through Kansas City and Arrowhead. It just seems like it's the Chargers had a chance to plant their flag in the ground last night, and it looked like they might for a minute, but Mahomes was way too good at the end.
Yeah, and I question, like, how do you play the coverage they did on that last one and outside the line on Kelsey and let him just run all the way across the field with someone chasing him? Like that's not good.
It wasn't. It seemed like it was seemed too easy. That was the vibe, right? And my wife's not a football person, and she looked at me as we were watching the end of the game last night, and she went, "That seemed too easy." I'm like, "Yeah, yep, that's exactly right. It seemed way too easy," and that's what Mahomes does to you. Like he makes it look easy. I give him that, and he did it. He did it again last night. It was really impressive.
Yeah, and the reality is they don't have a ton of tough games left on the schedule.
No.
They should.
Yeah, the Broncos stink.
Right. I mean, they have Rams this week at home.
Yeah, they're gonna kill those guys.
At the Bengals, at the Broncos, at the Texans. Home for Seattle and Denver, and then at Vegas.
They're gonna be 15-2 or 14-3. They're no worse than 13-4.
You know, Miami would have to run the table, and I don't know who has the tiebreaker between them.
And the Broncos, and the fact is Stafford's probably not even going to play this week for the Rams.
Right.
They're 14-point dog, or the Rams are already 14-point dogs.
The Rams are another team that's up for the eliminator.
Yeah, the Rams are really bad. Wow, are they bad? Hey, let me run through the playoff picture for you, Ty. Let me get your thoughts on this. So in the AFC, the Chiefs are the number 1 right now. They're 8-2. The Dolphins are 7-3. The Titans are currently the 3 seed at 7-3. Ravens are 7-3, although that was kind of a struggle yesterday, right? 13-3 against the Panthers. The Bills are 7-3, and they're the 5th seed. The Patriots are 6 right now at 6-4, and the Bengals are 6-4. Jets on the bubble, and the Chargers are 5-5, 2 back. When you look at that, do you see anybody changing? Or is one of the bubble teams going to get back in? Or do you kind of like that as a top 7? And that's tough. That's any one of those teams could win.
Yeah, I don't think a whole lot's going to change in there. A little bit of the cream's going to rise to the top. A little bit of a hot take. I think that the Bengals are certainly going to finish higher than they're sitting right now. The offense is really starting to heat up, and they're just about to get Jamar Chase back at some point. I mean, the Buffalo Bills are not going to go down from there. I don't really like anyone on the outside looking in. I think that's probably how it's going to shake out. I'd hate to be in the AFC, and have a good squad right now.
the AFC playoffs are going to be fun to watch all the way through. The NFC, the interesting part will be, I think that there's not going to be a heavy favorite. Like, you're going to go in there and be like, well, any of these teams can really win. But whoever, like we just were talking about, whoever comes out is going to be a big-time dog in the Super Bowl to whoever the AFC team is.
Yeah, for sure. 7, 8, 9 points at least. Let's look at that NFC picture while we're talking about it. Zach, you can kind of offer first thought on this too. Eagles are the number 1 seed. They're 9-1. And they were in a fight with the Colts. The Vikings are now 8-2. They're the 2 seed. Seahawks currently are the 3, although the Niners could make a claim on that because I think they beat the Seahawks earlier this year. So I think that gives them temporary tiebreaker status in that one. So the Niners could be the 3 seed by the end of the night. And they're currently up 17-10 on the Cardinals. Tampa Bay is 4 at 5-5 at that AFC South. So they could be hosting a playoff game. Cowboys are the 5 seed at 7-3. So the Bucs right now would have to play the Cowboys in that first round of the playoffs. That's something, right? I'm assuming that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the Giants are the 6th seed at 7-3. The Niners are currently the 7, but they'll flip-flop with the Seahawks tonight with a win there. Setting up some interesting matchups, seeing like the Vikings would have to play like the Seahawks in the first round. I don't know how excited you get doing that. Bucks Cowboys is interesting. Giants taking on the Niners in the first round. That could be interesting.
Yeah, I don't think they're
exciting. Like a lot of pretenders, though.
I don't think they're exciting from the prospect of like these teams are really good. I can't wait to see them play each other. The excitement is like, well, these teams both have flaws and we really can't predict it.
They're all like pretenders. Like none of them feel like real possibilities, and yet one of them is going to win. Like one of those teams is going to end up going to the Super Bowl.
Don't get me wrong. Like Philadelphia's looked good, and Minnesota has played really well until last week. I think that the Giants are flawed.
Yep.
And, but I like when you look at it, you're like, well, who's going to catch them? Do you trust the Commanders to catch them?
That's just it. If you look at those bubble teams.
Right.
Like who's interested in this? Like both Ty, you can get on this too. The Cobra Commanders are 8th right now at 6-5. The Falcons are 5-6. The Lions are 4-6. They went from being dead in the water at 1-6. They've won 3 in a row ever since they got rid of that bum Hawkinson, who's now playing. Who I think Skip Bayless basically said was the worst tight end in football this morning on Undisputed, which a little silly, but a little silly.
You have time to watch Undisputed at work?
No, I catch the highlights on YouTube when I get home.
Yeah, got working hard over there at Anoka High School, huh?
You know what? It's the end of the trimester. We're just trying to survive right now.
How can I get my grade up?
We got a lot of that. We got a lot of kids showing up, even though they're suspended. They still show up. Like I don't know how that works. Just a lot of eat shit teacher. F off. A lot of middle fingers. Just the huge. Anyway.
Yeah.
Everybody else is pretty much dead. The Lions are 4-6, but the Cardinals are 4-6. They lose tonight. They're 4-7. Packers are 4-7. Saints are 4-7. Rams are 3-7. Panthers 3-8.
But I think it's. God, 7 losses feels like you're dead,
but you're not.
But you're technically not. At the end of the night, you could be right. Depending especially if the 49ers lose here. And it's 5-5. They're 5-5. So I don't know. It's we might have to go to the AFC again for the eliminator. We'll have to look.
Well, we got a good. The bottom of the NFC is almost a cinch right now. We'll see. We got names to kick around tonight because boy, there were a lot of bad teams to lose when we get to the eliminator, and we will get there soon. I wanted to leave this open for either apologies or hot takes. If anybody's got one that they'd like to offer up right now, a bold prediction, if you will. Ty, maybe to you. I don't know if you've had a chance to think about this much, but like as you watch the season this year and you can kind of think ahead, do you have a bold prediction or a hot take that we can kind of think about as we go forward? Like what do you see maybe in either later into the season or just into the off season already, into the future, something that sticks out?
Yeah, just because Zach's on the pod, I want to throw out a little bit of a conspiracy theory / hot take. He probably can't comment on it because of his ownership status, but hear me out, right? Conspiracy theories are meant to be stupid, okay? Is there a chance that Aaron Rodgers is tanking? Because he seems like he's flexing when he needs to just to prove, hey, I'm not dead yet. But if there's anyone spiteful enough to go far enough to tank, wouldn't it be Aaron Rodgers? I mean, so again, he could be trying to make sure he's looking, like he's kind of over the hill so that the team that trades for him doesn't have to give up a whole lot. I don't know. I'm not a cap guy, so I couldn't tell you if it's even possible that he could be traded. But my guess is there's some sort of restructure and trade scenario that could play out. Otherwise, I don't know why they would have signed him to the extension that they did. But would you put it past him?
I think you're seeing a guy with a broken thumb, and his inaccuracy is. He's not nearly as accurate as he's been in the past, and that's because the thumb is broken. And they haven't come out and said the thumb is broken, but his thumb is broken. I can give you that from an ownership perspective. All right, we'll break the news on the pod tonight. His thumb is broken. So I hate to bury your hot take there because he's not interested in playing somewhere else. If he was interested in playing somewhere else, he would have. He would have left and gone and done it last year.
Yeah, he'd have gone to Denver.
He wanted.
Do you buy that? Yeah. So, Ty, are you suggesting it's like Brett Favre with the New York Jets? Like, I'm just going to, my shoulder, I can't throw it all anymore. I'm done. And all of a sudden he shows up in Minnesota and he can wing it at 110 miles an hour. Are you saying are you going with that theory?
I'm not going to die on that hill, but I'm just throwing it out there. It's an interesting thought. And for a guy who's never really struggled much in his career to all of a sudden struggle as much as he is, the thumb thing, it's something. But, I wish he'd come out and say I'm in pain and I'm letting my team down and I'm not playing as well as I could instead of throwing blame to everybody else and getting in screaming matches on the sideline with the coach. But again, he's a guy I respect almost no one more for their talent, pedigree, consistency, and just clutch gene. He's just a great player. I'm just not a big fan, and I think that from a leadership, I think he thinks he's being a good leader. And I think that everything he's doing is extremely counterproductive. I wouldn't want to be a rookie on that team.
Is it LaFleur's responsibility, Zach, though, if his thumb is broken and he knows that? Whose responsibility is it to say, you're broken, you can't help the team anymore, we got to sit you down? Is it Rodgers or is it LaFleur who's got to come to him and say, dude, you're hurt, the thumb's injured, let's shut this down. Let's let Jordan Love finish the season, and let's go from there.
Well, I think you'll see that if they feel like they're fully and completely done. But they haven't felt that way, right? I mean, they felt like at 4-6, they were still in the mix. So I think if they go out and lose again this week, which is, right, they're not going to be favored, then you might start to see something like that happen. But they're going to keep them in there as long as they think they have a shot.
And how interested are you? The follow-up to that, how interested are you to see Jordan Love play? As an owner, as a Packer fan, he's a number one pick. They did invest in him. There is sort of this desire, I would assume, to see if he can play, right? I'm interested, right? I'd like to know, because either then you got a hot trade chip or whatever. I mean, isn't there a level of interest in that?
Oh, I'm sure there will be interest in it when the time comes, if that happens this year. But and there's definitely people calling for it online because there are thousands of terrible football takes on Twitter every day. But I did you just can't make that switch in the middle. And I think he showed that, right? Like, he played like his former self against Dallas. And was a big piece of why they won that game. I mean, they ran the ball well, but he had like a nearly perfect quarterback rating. He threw 3 touchdowns. He, did a lot of things well. in the end, right, they're just we've talked about it before, right? They're missing a lot of pieces. Their O-line isn't what it was before. They're just not good this year.
Yeah.
And
Something to keep an eye on.
And everybody wants to make, these grand proclamations about it. Like, they're just not good.
That's true. The young wide receivers haven't quite. I mean, Watson's coming along, which is great, right? Watson's coming along. That's exciting,
right? Like, people, there's a reason why people are all excited and panicky when they're below 500 because it doesn't happen often.
That's true,
right? I mean,
that's true.
It's been a really long time. Right? They've done it. I think something over like the last 25 years. They've been below 500 only 3-4 times.
Yeah, not often. Has not happened much. You're right about that. Do you have a hot take for Ty? Like, what are you thinking? Do you have a bold prediction, a hot take, something like that we can break down here, Zach?
I know a lot of people were excited watching that Bills-Vikings game, and I think there's a lot of people that are hoping for that as a Super Bowl too, because you have these perennial losers in the Super Bowl, right? The teams that haven't been able to get over the hump. I don't think either of them are going to make it. That might not be the hottest take in the world, but a couple weeks ago, it looked like, right, going into that game 2 weeks ago, people were talking possible Super Bowl preview. I mean, we're at a point now where it's not conceived, or it's not ill-conceived that both of them are one and done in the playoffs.
Yeah, that they're not playing in the title games. That they're not.
I don't even know if either of them are going to win a game in the playoffs.
Wow. Ty.
Yeah, from the Vikings' perspective, I wouldn't say that's a hot take at all. The Vikings are an average team. They're a 500 team, which could have been good enough to win the division this year, and they've had a few bounces that have brought them to 8-2. Good for them. But from the Bills' perspective, I'm not ready to give up on them yet. I think what we're seeing with Josh Allen is what we knew. He can be inaccurate at times. He can make mistakes that can cost him the game. But he still has that, everything that brought them to the AFC Championship game last year. And I don't see any reason we won't see an AFC Championship game rematch in between them and Kansas City, and I'm excited for that.
Well, he's not healthy.
Who's that, Allen?
Yeah, Josh Allen's not healthy. And I will tell you a reason why we wouldn't see a rematch in the AFC Championship game, because right now Buffalo would have to go to Kansas City in week 2 of the playoffs.
That's true.
Right?
Oh yeah, if they had to do that, that'd be brutal.
Right. So I mean, right now they would have to go to Baltimore and win. Then they'd have to go to Kansas City and win. And then they would have to go to either Miami or Tennessee and win. Now, that could change, but they're in trouble in their division. We've talked about this for a few weeks now on the podcast. Just if he's hurt and they don't win that division, they are not going to the Super Bowl.
That's fair.
And I'm not saying that they can't win games, because they could win games, right? They could win any 3 of those games, right? They could win a game at Kansas City. They could win a game at Baltimore. They could win a game in Miami or Tennessee, but there's no way they're going to do all 3.
Yeah, you really feel like they've got to kind of run the table, win a bunch of games, get home field in the first round at the very least, maybe even in the second round, get up to that 2 seed. They've got to get past Miami. They can't sit in the 5. If they go into the playoffs as the 5 seed and have to play everything on the road, I think you're right, Zach. I don't know how they come away with that successfully.
And I'm standing by it. Josh Allen is not healthy, and it's a problem. Right?
Completely agree.
He has not looked good the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, it took him a while to get going. Like, it seemed like he played better in the second half. Ty, I don't know how much you caught of the Bills highlights and stuff from Detroit. It seemed like he played better in the second half. They pulled away a little bit. Of course, Cleveland's not a good team. Cleveland's not good. But it was good for them to get, that win, they had to have it. After losing 2 in a row, the injury to the Jets, the bad loss to the Vikings at the end, they kind of had to have that win. And now they get to play Detroit on Thanksgiving. They don't even have to travel for it. They're already there. They got to get back on track with they got to run 4 or 5 off, don't they?
Yeah, I wasn't as disappointed with their performance this week. It was a weird week. They didn't get a lot of practice. They had illness going through the locker room. They had to play a home game in Detroit. And Cleveland can run the ball, right? I don't think anybody can deny that. They're not a great team as a whole, but they can run the ball, and that can win football games, especially later in the year.
They couldn't run the ball this week though, against Buffalo.
Yeah, Chubb didn't do a ton, but you're right.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Traditionally, though, they can.
They can, right? There's people you have to stop there. So I'm not as low on them right now, and it has nothing to do with the fact that saying the Vikings are a really, really good team, so you can't count that as a hiccup, because I think you can. I don't think the Vikings are a great team at all, but I think Buffalo will be all right. What you're saying about them having to win 3 road games or 3 tough games, again against teams that can run the ball, that's legitimate. But Josh Allen is the MVP, so
you think he's the MVP? Do you think he's the MVP? That's a hot take. If you're going to go with that, do you think he's the MVP of the league right now?
As opposed to Mahomes, or who are you going with?
Oh, as opposed, Mahomes for sure. Jalen Hurts. You think he's better than Jalen Hurts right now? Has he had a better year than Jalen Hurts?
Yeah. My next hot take was that I think Philadelphia is a fraud.
Just to clarify here, you're on day 4 of your Advent calendar. Have you had all 4 of those in the last hour?
I can neither confirm nor deny. But I don't think it's crazy to say Josh Allen is the MVP. Until 2 weeks ago, you would not have laughed at that. Is that fair?
I would have definitely had him in the mix a couple weeks ago for sure. I would have, yeah. I mean, but Hurts has been fantastic, and they're 9-1, and he's been the best player they've got. And Mahomes, you saw Mahomes' magic last night's legit. He's just that guy wills teams to victory. I don't know if Allen. I feel like Allen's at least 3rd behind those guys, and he might be 4th behind Lamar Jackson. I mean, Lamar's literally carrying the Ravens, literally carrying them. Derrick Henry's literally carrying the Titans.
I can get behind Derrick Henry, but Lamar looked like an MVP candidate through 3 or 4 weeks, but I just think that the offensive struggles, although not his fault, I feel bad for Lamar. I really do. I think that I would have a hard time bringing up him and MVP in the same sentence, just because, again, it doesn't matter if it's your fault or not. If your offense sputters as much as they do and struggles to score 13 points against Carolina, that's concerning.
Is he okay? I mean, you okay? Zach is silent. Is Zach okay?
I'm perusing some of the stats right now. Just
this is what he likes to do, Ty. Just
try to find a way to justify Josh Allen.
Well, Josh Allen's a good player on a 7-3 team. I'll give him that. That's
yeah.
facts.
I just think he's throwing 10 interceptions.
Yeah,
he's got a lot of yards. I get that. I just I don't know. I guess I don't know if I have an MVP leader right now. I mean, that was the other part too. I'm looking. I'm like, who would I take? And right. We know it goes to a quarterback every year.
Yeah. Which, this, of all the years where maybe you could at least talk about that, I think this would be the year, right? Because Jefferson's been amazing. Tyreek Hill has fundamentally transformed Miami. I mean, without him, are they the same team? I think this is the year where at least you got to acknowledge that there's a conversation outside the quarterback for really the first time in a while.
Yeah, I don't think Tyreek Hill gets as much credit as he deserves. He's an unbelievable talent. Seems like he shows up every week, and he is just a problem for defenses. Totally agree.
Yeah. So what if I go completely off the board? I don't pick a quarterback, and in fact, I don't even pick an offensive player, and I say Micah Parsons.
Micah Parsons has been amazing. Would they take a defensive player to be the league MVP?
No.
But could you make a case for him? Yes. I definitely think you could.
Oh,
he's been amazing.
Sure. Right? I mean, look at the game yesterday. Right?
Yeah.
Just how the pass rush changes things, and he's got 10 sacks. but he's had five times he's had 2 sacks. Right? He's forced 3 fumbles. He's a guy you have to figure out, right? You have to
you're right.
game plan or whatever. So do I think he'll win it? No. But if we're going to talk about non-quarterback ideas, he's a guy I would mention.
I like that. You're right. I think so. That's a good conversation. This was good. Good hot take. I like that. That's nice. The Josh Allen MVP, that's the stuff that Ty gets on this podcast for right there. Those are the kinds of takes that, we'll get him on here more often. I'll tell you that. That's how you do it. Well done, Ty. All right. Time for the prediction segment. We have a guest picker this week. It's very exciting. We struggled a little last week. This was probably Zach's first real tough week on the picks last week. He went 2-3. He still leads at 28-17. 28-17 on the season. Very good. Ryan is in second, tied with me. We got it to 27-18. 27-18. So we're still a game back, just a game back on Zach. So Ty is picking for Ryan this week. And Ty, we're going to let you have the first pick. The Buffalo Bills on Thanksgiving Day are 9-point, your guy with the MVP of the league, Josh Allen, 9-point favorites against the Detroit Lions. How do you feel about this one?
Yeah, we've all watched these games. We know that Detroit puts up a cute first quarter and they kind of stick in the game, but I have to back up my Josh Allen talk and say that in the end, it's going to be more than a 9-point deficit, so I'm taking Buffalo, even with a 9-point deficit.
Buffalo and the points to win. I like that.
I'm very tempted to take the Lions here, just because they've been hot and the Bills have struggled, and I so want the Lions to win and the Vikings to lose, and then all of a sudden, maybe there's a little bit of topic going on. But no, I think Buffalo will win this one by double digits, so I'll take the Bills.
I think the Lions cover. 9 points feels like a lot. I think the Lions are playing competitive football. And defensively, they're not great. They're one of the worst in the league, especially like in all the major stats like DVOA and things like that. They're like the worst one. But I think they can keep this inside of 9 points and lose 24-17, something like that. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And if they pulled off an upset, would I be shocked? No, because they're playing good football right now. They're playing well, 3 in a row, including 2 road wins, which they hadn't done since, at all in the Dan Campbell era. And now they've won 2 in a row. So I think they can definitely hang inside the 9 points. I think, give me Detroit there. I'll take them. Next one, Ty. The New York Giants are at the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are 9-point favorites over the Giants. Should be a great game. 9-point favorites.
Yeah, I hate to be a victim of recency bias, but I just watched Dallas put up 40 points on Minnesota. And I know the Giants' defense is better than Minnesota's. I get it. 9 points is a lot, but I'm not going to fall for the Vegas trap that they're trying to set. And I'm going to take the better team, I think, by quite a bit. And I'm going to take Dallas, even with the 9 points.
I'm going to take the Giants to have a backdoor cover here. So I think the Cowboys will lead for most of the game and have a pretty good handle on it, but the Giants will get a garbage touchdown late and cover.
I will take Dallas to win this game. I told you last week, when I said that I think it's Midnight Cinderella on the Giants, I still believe that. I think Daniel Jones has played really well, and I'm really happy for him. Like, I'm really glad. They just don't have anybody to throw to. Like, he just doesn't have any weapons. Like, Slayton's just not very good. And, Galladay's, like I said, nothing there. There's nothing really there's nothing there. It's Breida and Barkley and Daniel Jones running the ball. And Jones still threw for 300 yards, but I just don't think he's going to get bailed out a lot by guys. And he's going against a defense that, it's a 4-day turnaround. We'll see if they have the juice, but I feel like they're in good spirits. I think the Cowboys will win this game by 10. So give me Dallas. All right, next one. Ty, New England on Thanksgiving night comes to U.S. Bank to take on the Minnesota Vikings. 3-point favorites are the Vikings. Where do you see it?
So for those who don't know, I'm a part of a group chat called Loserville, in which we like to lament about our local teams. We never say anything positive. You say something positive, you're gone.
You're out. Wow.
So if you're going to give me 3 points and Belichick against my Minnesota Vikings, I'm never not going to take that. I'd get booted out of the group if I picked the Vikings here. So yeah, I'm going New England. Again, not trying to go with recency bias. I'm happy the Vikings are 8-2, but I'm not quite sure that you can turn around on 4 days. Maybe it's a good thing that's a quick turnaround for the Vikings, but I think Belichick will watch the tape and have a pretty good game plan.
Zach.
I think he'll have a good game plan, but he doesn't have the same horses that the Cowboys do. But Belichick is a good point, right? Like that's part of it. What we didn't touch on with the Zach Wilson stuff is he went against Bill Belichick in some pretty shitty weather.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's part of it. That said, I think Minnesota is going to bounce back and win the game. And this will be, Justin Jefferson's going to be motivated and he's going to have a big night and they'll give him some turducken or whatever they give out and the Vikings will cover.
I love New England's defense, actually. I think New England's got a great defense, not just against the Jets. I think New England, like Judon, is a tremendous player. And Wise, what they're getting out of that front four for New England has been really awesome. McCourty had a pick in his hands last night and he couldn't hang on to it. But that Patriots team's good. Mac scares the hell out of me. I'm not going to lie to you. I feel like there's been a regression to the mean. I don't know if that's coaching. I don't know what you blame that on. Mac scares the hell out of me. And there's still no offensive weapons other than Rhamondre Stevenson and Harris. I think both those guys are really good, but I don't know if there's anything else beyond them. So, but I can't bet on Kirk in a primetime game. Give me New England to win that game somehow. I can't bet against primetime Kirk. That breaks all the rules of gambling. I have to take New England to win the game. Even though I should. Minnesota, you're right. All the reasons, Zach. Minnesota's better. Minnesota should just win the game. But it's primetime Kirk and Belichick.
I get that.
I can't figure it out. All right, here we go. This is a close one. This is a big one, too. This is probably the best non-Thanksgiving game on the schedule. The Cincinnati Bengals are at the Tennessee Titans. The Bengals are 1.5-point favorites. Such disrespect to the Titans.
Wait, where's that game at?
That's at Tennessee.
At Tennessee. Okay.
At Tennessee. Cincinnati at Tennessee. The Bengals are road favorites, 1.5 points. Ty, no Jamar Chase yet, but you like this Bengals team. Do you like the 1.5?
Yeah, I do, and I think that Vegas in this case is seeing what I'm seeing, and that's an offense that can't be stopped. I'm sorry, Cincinnati's offense is a heck of a lot better than Green Bay's right now. And I agree, though. I do think that's disrespectful to give Cincinnati a 1.5. When Tennessee's at home and they have Derrick Henry on their team. But I got to go with Cincinnati because I really think they have something going. And another quick hot take, I think that Cincinnati-Kansas City next week at Cincinnati is going to be the second best game of the NFL season. So tune in.
Wow. Just huge stuff. Whew.
I'm going to take Tennessee to win. And we've talked about this before, right? And I go, there are 3 things that I look at. Head coach, that one goes to Tennessee. Defense, that one goes to Tennessee. And quarterback goes to Cincinnati. But I think with those things and the other thing that we haven't talked about yet is an additional 3 days to prepare for them. So I will take Tennessee, especially if they're getting points at home.
I think you hit the big key on that one, Zach. I agree with you. The extra days to get 10 days to prep for the Bengals is big. It's like a mini bye week. I think that's a huge advantage for Tennessee. And I think Vrabel's a really good coach. I know we've differed on Vrabel a little bit during this pod. I think Vrabel's good. I think Vrabel knows how to win tough games. I think they're built for everything, and I think they're going to win this game.
He's better than Zach Taylor.
Yeah, he's better than Zach Taylor. Zach Taylor is an average coach, very average. He's not the worst coach in this league, but he's not nowhere near the best. And Vrabel's a very good coach.
So with that Debo touchdown run there, Ty, you pulled within 20.
Ooh, here it comes.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Don't give
Just
up.
needs a couple more field goals and another touchdown.
Actually, it's working out perfect for me because in one of my other leagues, I was down big coming in tonight, but I had Connor and Debo and Kittle, and I'm now a point behind. So
There you go.
I feel like we should get there.
Last one, Ty, the Green Bay, and I did this again. There's not a ton of great games. So the Green Bay Packers are getting 7 against the Philadelphia Eagles on the road. 7-point dogs for the Packers on the road at Philly. Let's be clear. This has not been a great Philly showing the last 2 weeks, though. Yes, they're 7-point favorites, but a loss to the Cobra Commanders, and they had to fight to the end to beat the Indianapolis Colts on the road. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is the easiest choice of the night for me. Again, I just kind of have to stick with my takes earlier on the podcast, is that I got to go with Green Bay. Not that I think they're a great team, but I don't think Philly's a great team. And if you're going to give me 7 points, I'm going to take Green Bay in this case. So I think it'll be a one-score game. Not sure Green Bay wins, but I think it'll be close.
They cover the 7 points, according to Ty. All right, Zach?
Yeah, I'm going to take Philly because I feel like every time I've bet against Green Bay is when they've had their better games. So in an effort to breathe some life, put some bulletin board material out there to motivate them, I'm going to go for Philly this week.
I think Green Bay does cover the 7. 7's a lot. And I think, it was a good win by Philly they kind of gut that out and grit that win against Indianapolis. I mean, that was a really gritty win. Hurts played well at the end. But I don't know. I think Green Bay is going to find a way to hang around here. They're going to fight, and
Philly has trouble with teams who run the ball, but they also just added, Ndamukong Suh and
Linval Joseph.
Yeah,
just to clog the middle. Basically, is all they're meant to do. Right. Yeah,
and so I think that'll help them as well.
So, I think this is a good test for Philly, right? Because you're right, Zach. They're not great against teams that run the ball. And the Commanders aren't exactly great at running the ball, but they just committed to it. Like, they ran for 40 times and 100, which, that's not a ton. That's not a ton of yards per carry, but they just stuck with it and grinded them out. And the Colts kind of did the same thing. They just grinded the ball on the ground and almost took that thing away from the Eagles. So the blueprint might be there for Green Bay to hang in this game. And if they lose, I think they can keep it inside of 7.
Should the Vikings have stuck with Taylor Heineke?
Over Kirk.
Well, he wouldn't cost him $40 million.
No, that's true.
Kirk wasn't in the picture at the time. Taylor Heineke made his own bet when he kicked in a window.
What did he do in the window? What did Taylor Heineke do to get cut?
Kicked his leg through a window and tore something in
his... That's what it was. It forced him to miss because he kicked. Yeah,
and he got cut.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't think Heineke's great, but he's better than Wentz, and they've rallied around him to credit the Commanders. Again, Rivera's done a good job.
Wentz stinks, but my God, was he everywhere this weekend up at NDSU?
Oh, God, yeah, that's right. You were up at NDSU?
There were Wentz ads for everything.
Wentz statues.
Wentz
bobbleheads.
The bank. You couldn't get away from the guy.
So what you're saying is there's 50 states in the union, and he owns one of them?
Pretty damn close, yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk eliminator. Let's figure out who we're going to eliminate. We got some nominees this week. The Bears, 3-8. They stink. The Broncos, 3-7, just lost to the Raiders. They stink. The Cleveland Browns just lost to the Bills. They're 3-7. They're chasing I think they're chasing everybody. The Steelers, the Bengals, and the Ravens in that division. They stink. So there's 3. I take that back. The Browns are ahead of the Steelers technically on a tiebreaker. They're both 3 and 7.
So
where are we going?
I think we need to eliminate an AFC team just because we've talked about the balance.
And we have to keep some NFC teams alive in case they make a run. We got to knock some teams out.
We have 10 NFC teams left, and we have 12 AFC teams left.
Yes.
And the reality is the AFC is tougher. So 3 and 7 in the AFC is a lot worse than 3 and 7 in the NFC.
So if we go Browns, Broncos.
I think that's the discussion to be had. Those 2 teams.
Okay. Ty, if you were to look at it just at first glance, who's worse?
I mean, the emotional pick for me would be the Broncos because I just think if there's a team that has underachieved more, you'd have to point them out to me. I'm not a Russell Wilson fan. If you wear your own jersey walking into the stadium, you're kind of deserve to be in the elimination chamber in my book. And the Browns, I don't think the Browns are a terrible team. I do think the Broncos are a terrible team, and they deserve to be eliminated. That's just my guest picking take.
I'm also on board. I think the Broncos are the team to eliminate. Their division is better in terms of, right? I mean, they just lost to the Raiders. And the reality is Cleveland's going to get a better quarterback here next week. I know we've said that for a couple weeks now, and they keep losing, and they haven't kept themselves alive. But I guess right now, if the conversation is who do you trust to go on a run more, because that's what it's going to take, right? Because the reality is we could be eliminating the other team next week.
Right.
Right? I mean, whoever we don't eliminate now is definitely, Team 1A next week along with the Bears. And so the Browns, their schedule isn't super terrible in comparison. I mean, the toughest game left for them is maybe the Ravens, and that's at home.
Yeah.
So I guess I would lean towards eliminating the Broncos. If you told me I had to eliminate the Browns and keep the Broncos around, I guess
I would never tell you to do that.
Well, yeah. I'm just saying, that wouldn't be my hill to die on,
right?
Per se, because like I said, I think we're going to eliminate one now, and we're going to eliminate one next week, right? But the difference is really, right, the Broncos still have the Chiefs twice. They still have the Ravens. They still have the Chargers. It's they play the Panthers and the Cardinals and the Rams who aren't good, but those other 4 games, I don't think they have a shot.
Right now, they look like a 6-11 team,
right?
At best.
So I think that the Broncos is it.
Is Nathaniel Hackett one and done? Because he doesn't have a lot of goodwill with the fan base.
I think so. Unless something drastic changes here, or you get, Russell Wilson saying, I absolutely want him back. I think it's got to happen. Although, would you be absolutely shocked if the Broncos tried to move him this year?
No. After what we saw with Wentz in Indianapolis, would you be shocked? I mean, we saw quarterbacks just get bounced now. It just seems like they move them quickly.
That's probably my first call, right? If I'm Denver, I'm like, hey, Indianapolis, you got any interest here? Right? Hey, Commanders, would you be?
They don't have any picks left, though, do they?
Well, at this point,
I guess they did.
At this point, who fucking cares? Right?
No, that's true.
Take some low end picks and dump the $50 million a year and start over.
That's true. Yeah, I think you're right. If you can dump Wilson, the question is who wants Wilson? Is there anybody who is going to sit there and say, you know what, it was Nathaniel Hackett. If I get Russell Wilson, we'll be fine.
I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's some people that'll say that. Right? And I think that if you're a team that doesn't have a quarterback right now,
like Carolina,
Yeah, I guess I don't think Carolina goes that route because I think Carolina's gone that route the last 3 years and it hasn't worked. I think Carolina's going to draft someone. Whoever comes in is going to draft someone. But if you're Atlanta, if you're the Colts,
and your pick's going to be too high to get one of the elite dudes in the draft,
right? If you're, the Commanders, right? I mean, are the Commanders going to stick with Heineke?
That's a great question. I don't know. I don't know if you can stay with Heineke beyond this year. It's a great question.
So those are the teams that I think you have to look at. But then, if you're Denver, you also probably have to look at are we starting all the way over, or are we just going to draft someone and let him rip right away and hope that we catch some lightning in the bottle?
So the Broncos are the pick. We think the Broncos, we should get them out of here. Enough of Russell Wilson. Enough of Nathaniel Hackett.
Indeed.
Done.
Yep.
Well done. Ty, good job on that one. Well done. Now time for see where Ty really is. See if he's as crazy as Ryan can be in these picks. It's time for the power rankings. Mine have shaken up after yesterday. I was startled by what I saw, and my 5 are very different than what they were last week. Ty, again, as our guest, who's your 5th place team in the power rankings? Oh, got to unmute.
I am so guilty of that. My gosh.
I know. You do that all the time. You do that all the time. Just leave the damn thing on. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Well, I don't know.
Okay, go ahead. No, it's true. It's loud. Go.
All right. So for my 5th team, I'm going with the team I really don't like, but, the record kind of speaks for itself, I think. So I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles at 5.
At 5? Oh, wow. Whoa.
He is Ryan.
He is Ryan.
That is the most Ryan pick of the night.
You've blended right in he's had a couple of those big German beers. Those beers aren't small. Do you see the size of those cans that he was holding up earlier? Those are gigantic. It's a lot of beer he's consumed during this podcast.
Hey, you know me. I always notice a big can, so.
You certainly said that over the weekend. Anyway, okay, number 5 for you, Zach.
I'm going with the Vikings. I was tempted to not have any NFC teams on here this week just to make a point. But discretion is the better part of valor. So I'll have the Vikings at 5.
I have the Buffalo Bills back in the countdown at 5. Now here's why. I just wanted to do the eye test, right? So to me, this was about, all right, what do I like? Do I like the coach? The answer is yes. I like McDermott. I like Josh Allen. He's having a tough year, but I do like Josh Allen. I like Stephon Diggs. I like their defense, especially on turf. Like if they can I feel like you start looking at teams and going, all right, who can travel in December? Who can play anywhere? And you start to say, like, I think Buffalo can play anywhere. Like I think they could. I thought they showed mental toughness this week to have to uproot everything in the middle of the week. 77 inches of snowfall at their home stadium. They have to ship it over to Detroit. There's probably more Cleveland fans there than Bills fans, and yet they got to win. Those are things that are hard to do. I gave them a lot of credit for that. So Buffalo earned their way back into my top 5. And I've been higher on them most of the year anyway, in fairness. So the eye test to me tells me that they are a top 5 team in this league. They shook off what they needed. And if they can beat Detroit this week, they're 8-3, and they're right back in this thing as one of the elite teams in the league. And I think they can beat Detroit this week.
Yeah, I think if they want to be taken seriously, they better beat Detroit this week.
100%. I completely agree. They'll never be in my 5 again if they lose to Detroit.
Is Dan Campbell going to be back next year?
He's starting to play his way back in,
That's
isn't he?
what I was going to say. Like, we thought he was gone, but all of a sudden, 3 in a row has got him in the mix.
Starting to play his way back in. Hard to get rid of Dan Campbell.
My next team is the Ravens.
At 4, the Ravens. Okay.
I have the Ravens at 4. Yep. They have not been in the rankings for me for a long time. But they finally have done enough, and maybe the better term is other teams have done as little as possible to hang on to those spots. So yeah.
Who's your 4?
I'm Ravens.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay, I get that. 4 for you, Ty.
So I put Philly at 5 and I get laughed off the podcast, but Zach says he considered not even putting Philly in his top 5. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but that was a stick.
They better be number 1. No,
Yeah,
my
they will be. Spoiler. I'm the only one who's had the balls to put them number 1 all year long.
That is not true. I put them number 1. I've had them number 1.
All year long. I've had the Eagles at number 1 since week 3. I'm looking at it right now.
All right. Well, Mazel Tov. And fantastic. I saw it differently. The esoteric approach. That's what I was taking.
All right.
I was seeing it differently than you.
We're clomping all over.
All right, Ty, go ahead with
Nice
the
call here.
Ty. Yeah,
All
who are
right,
you,
so
Pete Sitch? Anyway.
So similar to Philly, I'm not going just solely based off of the record. I like to go based off of teams that if I had to play them, specifically in a playoff game, who would I be most afraid of? And my 4th best team, I'm going with San Francisco. I think they're trending in the right direction, and I'd hate to have to play them right now.
You're seeing it from I'm assuming you're looking at this from everybody's healthy perspective, right? Like if you have a healthy Garoppolo, a healthy Kittle, healthy McCaffrey, healthy Deebo Samuel, a strong defense heading into the playoffs, that's a tough out. They feel like a playoff team that's built for the playoffs, right, Zach? I mean, I do get that vibe. I do.
Yeah, no, and they've definitely looked the part tonight.
So, okay, I like that. Different. I might be the victim of just recency. I'm taking Dallas at 4. Dallas is back in. I thought that was the most impressive, complete football game of the season played by anybody. Offense, defense, special teams. They dominated a good team. Not a great team.
Someone today said it's their best win in 20 years.
It was probably I'm starting to think when was the last time the Vikings just in a regular season game completely dominated a really good team? Maybe 98. When you start thinking back to Dallas on Thanksgiving or something like that, you're like, man, I don't remember a lot of games like that where they just cleaned somebody out from the second the game started to the second the game ended. It was the most impressive win of the season by any team. And I couldn't not leave them. I couldn't not put them on the list after what I saw. So they are on my list as the 4th team this week. Had to put them in. Number 3. Ty, why don't you give us number 3?
So number 3, same as you, Tim, I was easily influenced by a dominating performance. And another team I wouldn't want to have to play right now is Dallas Cowboys at 3. Good,
strong. They 3 NFC teams in their in the top
3, 4, 5. Just wait till you see 1 and 2.
Oh boy, I can't wait to hear that. Dallas is legit. Dallas's defense is absolutely legit, right, Zach? There's no question about that.
Oh yeah, for sure. They don't make my list though.
They don't make your list even after yesterday. They don't make your list at all, huh?
No, I just think that there's been enough other issues with them and other teams that I trust a little more. And I get it. You could put them at 5 over the Vikings, which I had, that's where I had the Vikings, but one game does not make a let's not rewind, right? A week ago they got beat by a not very good Green Bay team. Right. And Green Bay
do think
some of their warts to them. Right?
Does outdoors and grass though matter? I think we saw that. If you can get them, if they host playoff games, they're going to be tough to beat, aren't they?
Yeah, but do you think they're going to win the East?
Yeah, good point. Maybe, because if the Eagles fall off, I guess.
But they're 2 back.
That's true.
They're 2 back.
That was the best. That was the best Dak has looked in 2 years.
Yeah.
So that was a good sign.
So and their schedule is not super tough, but it's not easy either. But anyway, they're not on my list.
Yeah. You're okay. Not on your list. Who's 3? Who's 3 on your list?
I've got the Dolphins.
Me too. I have the Miami Dolphins.
They have looked electric on offense. We've talked about their losses are not losses that you would ding them for, right? Their quarterback died and pulled an Undertaker and came back. They lost to the Bengals, Jets, and Vikings in 3 consecutive weeks. And other than that, they're scoring 30 to 40 points a game, it seems like. So,
yeah, I think we can easily become victims of like teams that are on bye and not playing. We can forget about them. But like the Dolphins up until obviously even the bye last week were offensively one of the most dangerous teams in the league. So you can't forget about them. So I definitely have them as 3.
So breaking message from Ryan, who apparently is able to get out of bed now and is getting over that Vikings loss finally. He says, the Cardinals are so bad. That's the kind of hard-hitting analysis you get from Ryan.
Oh, I love it.
Take a few cheap shots at him tonight since he wasn't here.
We did promise. Yes, you did do that. Yep, that's very good. All right, number two. Ty, I have no idea where you're going at this point. I cannot predict your top 5. So where are you going?
Yeah, I was just screwing with you guys. Number 2 is the Buffalo Bills. Wouldn't want to play them. If that elbow gets better, they have enough weapons on offense that I think they're the second best team in the league.
I've been saying since day one. Well, I rode for Buffalo the first 6-7 weeks as the best team in the league. I did do that. So I mean, they're not there. They got to build their way back up for me there. But I was riding for them early. I still think they can be that way. It's not like they got progressively worse. But you're right. The injury on the elbow, that's the big if, Ty. That's the huge if. If Allen's elbow can heal in any way where he can be really good, maybe. But Zach's not so sure, and neither am I. Zach, who's 2?
I have the Chiefs at 2.
Chiefs at 2.
Another exciting win for them. I still have them behind the Eagles because I think until the Eagles really fall off or the Chiefs just explode, right? Like the Eagles have been consistent and really good in multiple phases, and that's why I like them.
I got Philly at 2, and here's why. I think the loss to the Cobra Commanders, that was number 1. But then, like I said, you're in a dogfight with the Colts. And they win the game 17-16. They don't have to apologize for that. But Sirianni's up on the bench like he's Pat Beverly beating the Clippers in the first round of the playoffs. Like, he's waving a towel and talking shit to the Colts fans because he's upset that
I don't think
Frank Reich got fired.
He wasn't talking shit to the fans. He was yelling to the Eagles guys that were right there.
Is that what he was doing? He's a little too much for me. It's like, you didn't win the Super Bowl here. Like, let's calm down a minute. Like, get off the bench, go to the other side, go shake hands and get in the locker room. But then he gets in this post-game presser and he's pissing and moaning about Frank Reich getting fired. And it's like, dude, keep your eye on the ball. Well, watch your own bobber.
Hey, I don't mind guys going to bat for their mentors, their the people that they've spent a lot of time with.
Yeah.
But, there was a little bit of a circus with that, for sure.
And if you're just asking me to do the eye test after 2 tough games for the Philadelphia Eagles, and we knew they were going to have some adversity eventually. So they're going through some adversity right now. If you're just asking me, am I betting against Andy Reid in a big spot and Patrick Mahomes in a big spot? I'm not. I'm just not right now. I think they're the better team. Kelsey is having his best year. Like, I think they're getting it done with, like, this last week, they didn't have Hardman. They didn't have Smith-Schuster. And yet, they're still moving the ball, like, at will. And it's because the running game has come around. Pacheco looks like a really good player. Like, he looks like he might be found money. They're using McKinnon. They're using Edwards-Helaire. Like, now it's just like the whole is greater than the sum of the parts at wide receiver and running back. And it's really good. It's really fun to watch.
I think they still have problems with the kicker. They still have problems with their defense not being as good as it once was. And I do think that he just stares down Kelsey all the time. And like we've talked about before with Mahomes, where he makes some of these stupid throws and get away with a lot of stuff.
No question.
Like, I think it's going to catch him at some point. He's going to, and that doesn't mean they're not good. But, that's just where I feel. This is clearly one of the most wild top 10s we've had.
This is all over the place. Yeah, I agree. We are everywhere.
Total them all here, but
go ahead.
You're not number 1. I've got the Eagles.
You had the Eagles, and I have the Chiefs. Which has been pretty consistent, I think. I've been around the Chiefs, Bills, or Eagles number 1 all season long. That's where I'm at. Ty, who's number 1?
Yeah, I have the Chiefs at number 1. sticking with the theme, I would never want to play against that team any given week, certainly not in the playoffs. The issue I have with Philadelphia is this is the time of year where good teams start to struggle. We saw it with Kansas City last year. We saw it with the Rams last year, right? The Rams had a little bit of a hiccup in the middle of the season, and they were clearly a great team. The problem with Philly is it's been more than a hiccup to me. They lose to the Cobra Commanders. They struggle with Indianapolis. They struggled with Arizona, who we don't think is very good. They didn't look great against the Texans. That's becoming a little bit more than a trend to me. And if I was an Eagles fan, I'd be concerned. I just don't think they could find their way to the Super Bowl through a weak NFC. I certainly see a path for that, especially if it goes through Philadelphia and the schedule is lining up like it might. But I don't see them challenging Buffalo, even Miami, certainly not Kansas City in the Super Bowl. So they're just not my number one team, and apparently not even all that close for those reasons.
Yeah, their schedule is tough down the stretch here. But
who do they have down the stretch?
It goes Packers, Titans, at Giants, at Bears.
Titans will be tough.
At Cowboys, Saints, Giants. And I know
There's
you
tough ones in there.
I know you think that the Giants have fallen off, but the Titans, the Cowboys,
the Titans and the Cowboys will be tough for sure. No question.
The Giants have been good.
Yep.
We've talked about the Bears playing better. The Saints are hit and miss, right? Like there are times where they look great. So I think there's a lot of
some landmines out there. There really are. You're right.
Also,
100%.
I went on the record earlier about the 17 game season and not liking it and stuff. Like right now, the season really feels like a slog here in the middle.
It's getting long. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, I not that. I mean, part of it is right. Like Green Bay is struggling, and but there just seems to be a lot of not good games on the schedule.
Yeah, too many bye weeks now. Like the bye, I feel like stretches for 1,000 years. Like it's 9 weeks of bye weeks, and it just feels like, man, we get some really bad matchups throughout the course of this stretch.
So,
like we haven't had a real good stretch of games in a while.
Our totals here are the Chiefs 1, Eagles 2, Dolphins 3, and then Bills and Cowboys are tied for 4 and 5.
Yeah, we kind of built a consensus with those top three, I think, right? We kind of feel...
I'm just shocked that neither of you guys had the Vikings on the list.
Go ahead.
They're 8-2, and their 2 losses are against 2 really good teams.
I agree. Here's why I had to move them off. Because I haven't been overly high from the beginning, right? I've had them as my 3 team, pretty much 3 to 4 all season long. So I haven't really bought them like everybody else all season long. I think that's pretty obvious, right? I do think if one guy goes down and the whole thing falls apart to the degree that it did, that's got to scare you. Like that's red flag stuff all over the place, right? Defensively, a total meltdown, a total breakdown where they were really exposed. The running back, the wheel route to Pollard where he got the touchdown on the linebacker, it was like we'd never seen that before. They flashed to Ed Donatel and he looks just baffled, like he'd never seen that before. Like, and no idea that a running back was capable of coming out of the backfield and running a route like that. It just looked like he had no answers. And I'm not saying that that's every week. It's not. But it does tell you that the depth isn't there at the offensive line, where if you take an injury to Darisaw, you take an injury to Bradbury, or you take an injury to O'Neal, all of a sudden, it's not a very good offensive line. It's not that good anyway, but it becomes borderline piss poor, like terrible. And I tip my cap to Cousins. He showed a lot of guts yesterday. I'm not the biggest Cousins guy in the world. That son of a bitch is tough. Like he gets his ass kicked and starts every week. So I give him that. But I'm very concerned.
I did think it was funny when Dalvin Cook got the penalty yesterday for taunting, and he's taunting the former Vikings defensive coach who's coaching with the Cowboys now, and they're down by 30.
Yeah, we're down 30. Let's calm down, Delvin. And that's just where I'm at. So, like, to me, it's just like the Bills from a couple weeks ago. You got to work your way back up into the 5. Go beat New England on Thanksgiving night. And that's the other thing is I'm kind of foreshadowing. I don't think they're going to beat New England. I'm worried. Like, I'm very concerned here. And I talked about this a couple weeks ago against the Cobra Commanders. They pulled that out of their ass. They pulled Buffalo out of their ass. And I was sitting there going, boy, it's not looking good. Like, you got to play some really tough teams here coming up. This could go south very quickly. I'm not saying you're going to lose the division, but there's some very tough games on the schedule, and we're starting to see that. And I'm worried about it.
Even had I been on last week, it's just kind of felt like a house of cards all along, right? You're fortunate to be 8-1 as a fan. You're very happy, but the drubbing that they took this week, they probably would have been 4 or 5 last week, and it certainly pushed them out. I need to see a big bounce back.
You guys are shell shocked from your history with the team.
You might be right.
And also, let's be honest. I'm surprised that Tim doesn't have Tom and the Buccaneers 1 and the Patriots 2.
Oh, come on now. Stop this. Stop this absurdity. Stop this nonsense. We're not going to tolerate that. Stop it. All right. Time for us to head on out of here, everybody. I want to thank you again. Ty, thanks for pinch hitting, buddy. You did a great job tonight. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, sorry I had the hot mic, but it was a blast.
We'll work through it. Good to have you. We'll get you back on soon. Haven't talked golf with Ty in a while. We haven't shot the breeze with Ty in a while either. We're just going to get Ty on a little more often here.
Is golf even a thing right now?
No, it's not. It's not a thing until at least January. Although Ty and I are hitting the simulator this week, so that's we'll report back. We'll report our findings back with that.
I got to get out with those new clubs.
Yeah, you do. You got to join us at the sim. You can come to the sim with us on Wednesday morning if you want.
Tim's been harping on me to get clubs that were, made in the 2000s.
Well, I mean, you were basically playing with hickories before. I mean, we needed to get you into some. We needed to get you into some sticks with some technology.
Yeah, but I still hit things a mile.
That's true. You did, like you do, but I think you're going to hit these further.
Yeah, that's what
I think you're going to do.
Is figuring out how far I can hit those things now.
You're going to be 10 yards longer with the clubs you got now. 10 yards, guaranteed.
All right.
Can't wait to see it.
Come on Wednesday. I'll buy you a whiskey.
Ooh.
No, I can't. We can't. We have the families coming over Wednesday night for board game night. Because, we gotta have the other half of the family over that's not here for Thanksgiving on the next day. So.
All right. Fair enough.
But
all right, everybody.
In probably the biggest news, my daughter's boyfriend is coming over for that night. So she has invited him and he has accepted. So, but probably
you will be on your best behavior.
Well, probably not so intimidating for him because, my dad and I coach football and he was on the football team. So,
okay.
It's probably not the scariest situation for him, but still a big step. So.
Yeah, you're gonna be your most intimidating self. Be coach Neighbor, will you? Be Coach Zach that night. Don't be Dad. Be tough.
Well, the guy I never coached because he was the kicker. He's the kicker, the punter, and like our fifth or sixth wide receiver. But the reality is he is currently talking to schools right now about going and kicking on scholarship. So.
Ooh, there you go.
Yep.
All right. Well, you know what? Hitch your wagon to that kid. He'll still make $1 million in the NFL. So let's follow him to the promised land, and he can come be on the podcast when that happens. My thanks to Zach. My thanks to Ty. Again, wherever you get your podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you name it, iHeartRadio, it's everywhere. So please go ahead, find your podcast there. Like, subscribe. Check out the YouTube channel as well. That's Tim Anderson Podcast. On YouTube, you'll find it there, and you'll get to see the lovely face of Ty, Zach, and myself on YouTube this week as well. So there's that. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Have a great holiday, and we'll see you back here next week. Until next time, for Ty, for Zach, this is Tim saying keep your head up, and we will see you.
You take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have them. Facts of life, the facts of life. But when's the time you got to go and show you're growing?